All right, guys, we got the RockShox Super Deluxe Ultimate, and you need to, if you haven't seen the prerequisite video, go to the video description and watch that video first. So this is the RockShox Super Deluxe. It is an absolute mess. When it comes to this shock, there's different variations, main pistons, air cans. So the first step we gotta do, go to the Trailhead app and identify what we have going on. There's 3 total air cans with the Super Deluxe. This is the linear air can. There's a progressive air can, and they have a new air can. It's supposed to meet somewhere in the middle. The linear XL air can is the newest offering for the Super Deluxe. It's promising to be the most balanced between the old progressive air can and the standard linear air can that's featured in this video. So I've rode the progressive and the standard air can, and if you want a more plush ride, go for the progressive air can and don't look at the fine print. If your bike is very progressive, like my Rocky Mountain, the linear air can is perfectly fine. If you're not happy, I would start with this one because I personally think the progressive air can is a little bit unbalanced. The negative chamber is too large and only a limited number of negative tokens can be installed inside of this shock. Verifying my stroke is 230 by 65 is pretty important if you're dealing with used suspension like I normally do. So moving over to the tuning section of the Trailhead app, it's definitely going to save some time for some initial baseline settings. So I weigh 200 pounds, my bike's about 170 millimeters of travel, but as we move the travel larger or longer, basically the air pressure goes up. So this is just a starting point, don't harp on it too hard. If you're jumping in with a new Super Deluxe, we got DU bushings from RockShox that do require a special tool to remove these. All this stuff's linked in the description. If you do need to get a hold of it, it's the exact one that I've bought before. You can push in any standard eyelet hardware into the RockShox. So I personally use the cheapest one ever on Amazon or the Fox ones I have laying around. Now, the ideal way to do this, if you're not extremely familiar with the RockShox Super Deluxe and or your bike, is to go ride it and then add the volume tokens in later. But I've spent months, weeks riding my bike and this shock in the past, so I'm going to open it up and see how many tokens are installed. So this is me trying to open the air can in the wrong direction. So what you have to do if it doesn't open, because the threads are oriented upside down, is flip the strap wrench around 180 degrees. And then put some kind of Allen key or pin in the upper eyelet to hold this in place. So it feels like I'm tightening it, but it's because the threads are upside down and then we cracked it loose. So if your air shock has never been opened, you're gonna need a strap wrench on the first initial opening of it. And then it may be very difficult to unscrew this, but once it's been opened once, it becomes super easy later on. Inside of the Super Deluxe Ultimate, from 2024 and on, if you have high speed and low speed compression on yours, we can only use the purple tokens per RockShox. You cannot use this one. This is the Nardog one, and basically it'll interfere and cause some damage potentially inside of your shock. The older token has the identical shape to the purple one, but it's red. And I'm just gonna risk it because it's like adding 2 or 3 of the purple tokens. In my humble opinion, it's kind of a design flaw from RockShox, not allowing you to have enough tokens. There's also the option of negative tokens inside of the Super Deluxe. It is one tiny token. The main goal of a negative token is to lower main air pressure. It will make the bike more sporty and have less small bump compliance. So if you're racing or 300 pounds, that's the only reason you're going to use a negative token. So I didn't film this very good, but if you do install tokens, make sure they do not interfere with the Schrader valve going into the shock. There's little indexes in the token. So tighten this up by hand. I didn't find any torque specs and didn't look for one, but think about it like an oil filter. Tighten it up good and tight, but not too tight. So it's very common for shocks to leak oil after you open the air can because there's a whole bunch of oil inside of there to lubricate the air can. So make sure you clean it off really good so you can spot any leaks later on. If the shock is currently off the bike, it's worth a squeeze. So move the rebound to the fully fast setting and then push it down on the table with no air in it. And if it doesn't rebound up like this one, that means our internal floating piston gas charge is low. So you're not going to get a good setup. So verifying this is a good shock, I'm just going to add like 20-30 PSI into this shock and make sure it doesn't hiss before I bolt it into the bike. Before setting out for the tuning mission, it's super important to do a little bit of maintenance on the bike because this could basically throw off our settings. Adding 30 PSI to the tires, we're going to make sure the tires aren't going to rip off the rim. So the rear of the bike takes some serious abuse, so all my spokes are loose. So this could potentially screw up this setup. So I personally don't love rear wheels, so I'm just tightening up the ones that are about to fall out. And this should be good enough for the setup video. Digital shock pump is absolutely vital if you do want to get a super dialed setting. If you want to get in the ballpark, the analog ones are fine. Move the high speed and the low speed compression to the middle setting. RockShox considers this neutral. It's a very important step. Our baseline rebound based off of rider weight and rear wheel travel is 8 clicks. So the Super Deluxe is very easy to move it. Just move it all the way to the turtle, give it 8 clicks. Very simple. So now we're going to fill it up with air, and there's a couple vital steps to make sure you fill this up correctly. About every 50 PSI or so, you need to basically push down. And if you don't hear some kind of equalization noise, you need to dump all the pressure out of it and start over. Shoot for around 30% sag, but definitely aim for the heavier side because the nature of the RockShox suspension. So after everything's done, our final step should be tightening up the mounting hardware because this will come loose and kind of settle just from pushing down on the bike. I have set up a lot of different shocks. So basically a couple hucks to flat is all you need. You could literally set this shock up in the pavement with a couple kicker ramps. So key note here, I've recently switched back to flat pedals and the setup difference is substantially different. Your riding position is way different with flat pedals versus clips. So this is like a brand new shock to me. It's kind of interesting. So a couple hops around the parking lot is all you need to basically get your rebound into the ballpark. So basically the bike should kind of lift up with you, a sensation. So I know the baseline recommended rebound is too slow from RockShox. They're giving a conservative rebound number and it's an AI calculation based off of rider weight. So I gave it 2 clicks in the faster direction to see if I get that magic pull up feeling, that kind of poppy feel. And it's definitely better. So we're going to move into the first 3-foot huck to flat. Back to the bike maintenance. So basically the e-bike's been sitting in my office for like a month because I'm on an Amish bike campaign. So my Fox 38 is definitely lost some air pressure sitting for about a month. So we need to get the bike completely dialed before focusing in on the rear suspension. There is no way I'm going to go in here and add more tokens, and I do believe I'm at the maximum amount of tokens. So the only thing to do at this point to set the ramp up or the bottom out control is to add like 10 PSI of pressure. The RockShox products are extraordinarily sensitive to air pressure, so 10 PSI is enough ramp up control, and I'm not sure exactly what the sag was at this time. If you turn the knobs on your suspension, you are a suspension tuner, so it's your job to identify issues and problems. So the main goal is to differentiate the difference between soft and hard bottom outs. Soft bottom outs like this one are just basically an interpretation. At this point, the rebound feels pretty satisfactory, so I'm going to move on to another little jump line to develop the proper amount of control with the rebound. The high and low speed compression adjuster on the Super Deluxe, well, it's a little bit interesting. So in the first comment of this video, I did make a paid PDF setup guide to get that super dialed with some secret tips I've developed over the years.